You settle into the quiet of the night with that familiar mixture of doubt and anticipation, the same feeling you have carried ever since 3I Atlas first appeared beyond Jupiter's faint blue haze. You have followed every anomaly, every whisper from the telescopes, every delayed press release that seemed to hide more than it revealed. And tonight, something shifts. Something in the data, in the silence between the lines, tilts the universe a little closer to confession. You feel it before you understand it. A subtle change in the air, a quiet insistence threading itself through your thoughts. The proof you were hoping for may finally be rising. You breathe slowly, letting the tension loosen from your shoulders, as if preparing yourself for a truth that has taken months to assemble. The light curve irregularities, the nickel dominance without iron, the synchronized thermal nodes that refuse to drift the way natural cometary activity should, each one an oddity. But when the new readings came in, when the spectroscopic signatures aligned into a pattern too deliberate to dismiss, the quiet corridors of the observatories began to feel like places holding their breath. You lie there, listening to the soft hum of your room, imagining the scientists scattered around the world doing the same late nights illuminated by monitor glow, hands hovering over keyboards as they watched the data shift from improbable to unmistakable. No fireworks, no sudden revelation, just a slow unmasking, like a shadowed figure stepping into the faintest dawn. The numbers did not shout, they whispered, and the whisper said, "This is not behaving like a comet anymore." Your mind drifts back to the ancient stories, the ones about wandering lights with intentions of their own, the celestial messengers that appeared exactly when needed, carrying meaning in the timing more than the spectacle. You wonder how many generations looked up with the same suspended breath you hold now. How many hoped for proof, feared it, or both. The air feels heavier, but not with dread, with inevitability, with the quiet certainty that a boundary you once thought stable is beginning to dissolve, atom by atom, into something unfamiliar. You let your eyes soften. The proof waits ahead, and tonight you move toward it. You feel the first shift as a soft pulse beneath the surface of the night, the way a distant tremor might ripple through the ground long before anyone hears it. This is the awakening, the slow rise of awareness that something familiar has taken one step closer to certainty. You lie there, listening to the room settle around you, and the thought grows clearer with every breath. 3I Atlas has crossed another threshold, and the universe has quietly rearranged itself to make room for the truth. The new data packet is still fresh, still being passed across laboratories that hum with low light and tired anticipation, but the shape of it already leans toward revelation. You can almost picture the researchers pausing, staring at the numbers glowing on their screens, wondering how gently to tell the world. The proof you were hoping for did not arrive with fireworks. It arrived with precision. The evidence deepens when you let your thoughts drift to the readings themselves. The thermal pulses no longer fluctuate randomly. They form an interval pattern that repeats every 123 minutes, synchronized across hemispheric nodes, like the controlled respiration of a machine tuned to its own internal logic. The nickel without iron, the signature that first nudged scientists towards suspicion, now appears layered in alternating densities, suggestive of engineered stratification rather than chaotic formation. And then there are the three new anomalies that turned late-night murmurs into quiet astonishment. The ultraviolet bands that flicker in harmonic ratios, the microgravity deviations at the trailing edge of the coma, and the faint but undeniable internal heat gradient that oscillates, in a way, nothing frozen and drifting through space has any right to do. Even the team at the European Space Agency, always hesitant to jump to wild conclusions, has acknowledged that the pattern resembles self-regulation. That word self has not been spoken aloud, but it lingers beneath every carefully phrased statement. As echoes from the past rise, you feel the weight of memory pressing gently against your thoughts. Humanity has been here before, blinking at the sky, trying to understand lights that behave like messages. Ancient civilizations carved warnings into stone about wandering objects whose returns coincided with floods, droughts, and strange blessings. Stories from millennia ago describe celestial travelers that paused above mountains as if inspecting them, or changed their brightness in ways scholars insisted were purposeful. The myths were dismissed as imagination, metaphors, or the human tendency to weave intention into the unknown. Yet, something in those old tales feels less exaggerated tonight. You imagine an ancient watcher standing on a cliff, staring at a luminous visitor streaking across the night, wondering whether its movements meant anything, wondering whether the sky itself was trying to speak. The echo between their questions and yours forms a bridge across thousands of years. Maybe the mythmakers were simply too early. The cosmic perspective opens wider as you imagine 3i Atlas moving in the vastness, carrying its own logic through the dark. Space is silent, but not empty. It is threaded with forces that obey rules older than stars. And now there is an interstellar object behaving with deliberate consistency, tracing a path that seems less like travel and more like arrival. You picture it rotating through the cold, shedding fine streams of particles that shift in frequency-matched waves, as if broadcasting whispers across the void. The latest optical array scans show its shape stabilizing rather than eroding, defying every expectation of natural degradation. Even NASA's Deep Space Network caught a narrowly spaced sequence of reflected signals, rhythmic enough that one researcher called it unsettling in its intentionality, before quickly revising the report. The cosmos often feels indifferent, but this object behaves like something paying attention. The human reflection begins when you consider why this proof matters to you. It is not just curiosity, it is something quieter, a desire to know that humanity is not alone in its wandering. You think about the long nights spent staring at screens, the conversations whispered between scientists who feared being dismissed, the sense that the universe might be watching to see how carefully we approach the unknown. Maybe the hope was never about spectacle. Maybe the hope was simply about acknowledgement. You lie there, aware of your own smallness, but also aware of the strange comfort that comes from discovering patterns where chaos once reigned. If 3i Atlas carries intention, then the universe is more connected than you believed. If it carries design, then your story is part of something larger. You inhale slowly, imagining what it would feel like to witness the first confirmed sign of a structure not born of natural processes, but shaped by intelligence older than Earth. The great silence returns in the final stretch of your thoughts, settling over everything like a calm veil. The night around you softens, and the distant hum of your world fades to the background. 3i Atlas continues its slow journey, emitting signals no one fully understands yet, holding its secrets with patience unimaginable. You rest beneath that silence, knowing the proof is emerging piece by piece, and that even now, somewhere in a dimly lit laboratory, a researcher might be staring at their screen with widened eyes. You are part of this unfolding, a quiet witness to the moment when uncertainty becomes recognition. And in that silence, a single unresolved thought remains. If this proof confirms what you hope it does, then the question is no longer why 3I Atlas is here, but what it intends to do next. You feel the awakening begin as a soft pressure behind your thoughts, the kind that arrives when new information has already shifted something fundamental, even before you consciously acknowledge it. The latest data from the orbital arrays reaches you like a quiet second pulse beneath the first, steady and insistent. You lie there in the dim calm of your room, letting the sensation unfurl. The truth that once danced at the edge of possibility is now stepping more boldly into view. 3I Atlas, with its shimmering veil of anomalies, has taken yet another deliberate step toward revealing itself. You can almost picture the long chain of analysts who received the first decrypted packets, stopping mid-breath as the numbers hinted at structure, coherence, and most unnervingly intentionality. The evidence deepens when you think about the striking new discovery. The internal heat modulation is not just oscillating, but responding. A probe from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency detected a thermal rebound exactly 6 minutes after issuing a calibrated radar pulse, as though some internal mechanism adjusted in answer. That alone would be enough to stir quiet conversations across laboratories. But there is more. The microfractures across the surface appear in mirrored pairs, perfectly equidistant, forming a fractal symmetry no natural stress pattern would produce. And then comes the most recent anomaly, the dust emissions, long considered erratic, now aligned to a repeating 10-element cycle that matches the harmonic intervals found in the ultraviolet bands. 10 elements, 10 pulses, 10 shifts. A counting system, maybe, or a signature. Scientists try to phrase it cautiously, but their restraint is wearing thin. Something inside 3I Atlas is coordinating. Something is choosing. The deeper the evidence goes, the more the line blurs between observation and recognition. Echoes from the past rise when your mind drifts to the ancient inscriptions preserved on tablets and monuments across early civilizations. Some speak of a returning wanderer, an object marked by repeating lights and rhythmic behaviors. Others describe a visitor whose patterns in the sky mirrored the chants of priests, the beats of ceremonial drums, the cycles of seasons. You think about the Egyptian astronomer priests who catalogued the heavens with patient devotion, or the Polynesian navigators who watched for faint, repeating signals in the night sea glow to align their long voyages. Not all mythology is fiction. Some is encoded memory. And as you lie there, wrapped in the soft embrace of the dark, the similarities between your modern anomalies and those ancient rhythms become harder to dismiss as coincidence. The past hums beneath the present, a reminder that the sky has always tried to tell its stories. Humans simply needed the patience to listen. The cosmic perspective opens gently, but unmistakably, when you imagine 3I Atlas in its vast celestial path. The object drifts through space with an elegance that feels less like survival and more like choreography. The new spectral imaging shows its interior shifting with a steady cadence, like a heartbeat slowed by unimaginable distance and time. Even the coma patterns no longer resemble chaotic gas releases. They form plumes that resemble engineered vents, dispersing particles at velocities too stable for natural processes. And then there is the reflection burst, an unusually narrow beam detected for only 2 seconds by the Chilean observatory. The beam aligned perfectly with Earth's magnetic axis at the time, as though acknowledging our presence with a fleeting glance. No official statement has been made about it, but within the quiet circles of cosmology departments, the phrase "directed reflection" has been murmured more than once. When you zoom out far enough, when you stretch your imagination across light years, the idea of an interstellar structure choosing to respond does not feel like fantasy. It feels like possibility made tangible. The human reflection settles in slowly, like a tide rising around your thoughts. You think about your own reaction to these revelations, the excitement, the uncertainty, the quiet hope. You consider how humanity has longed for this moment, even while fearing it. For generations, people have looked up at the night sky searching for meaning, for confirmation that thought exists beyond Earth, for proof that intelligence is not confined to one fragile world. Now that the signs are emerging, subtle yet undeniable, you realize how deeply you wanted this. Not for spectacle, not for drama, but for connection. There is something profoundly human about wanting to be seen by the universe, wanting to believe that our curiosity is mirrored somewhere out in the deep. You imagine the scientists hunched over their consoles, fueled by old coffee and quiet awe, whispering to one another that maybe, just maybe, this is what they have been waiting their whole careers to witness. And you, lying there in the hush of night, share that same yearning. The great silence returns like a soft exhale, surrounding you with calm recognition. The universe, immense and old, does not rush to reveal its truths. It lets them drift slowly into awareness, like starlight traveling across centuries to reach our eyes. 3i Atlas continues its journey through that silence, carrying its patterns, its pulses, its unanswered questions. You feel the stillness wrap around your thoughts, a reassurance that discovery does not need to be loud to be real. The silence is not emptiness. It is a waiting space, a listening space. And in the heart of that silence lies one unresolved thought. If this object is offering proof crafted in harmonics, symmetry, and intelligent modulation, then what message lies in the patterns we have yet to decode? You feel the awakening arrive not as a sudden jolt, but as a soft, expanding awareness, like a quiet widening of the space inside your thoughts. The new report has been out for only a few hours, but it moves through you with the gentle weight of something that matters. You settle deeper into your pillow, letting the night wrap around you, and you sense the shift in the same instinctive way. You sense the weather changing long before you hear the first distant rumble. 3i Atlas has revealed another layer, another carefully woven thread in its intricate tapestry of behavior, and the world is only beginning to absorb what that means. You breathe slowly, letting the stillness settle, letting yourself lean into the truth that the universe is speaking in patterns tonight. The evidence deepens when your mind drifts to the 3 newest anomalies that researchers confirmed just after sunset. The first is the rotational stutter, an unexpected deceleration lasting exactly 6 seconds, followed by a correction so precise it tightened the rotation to within a margin of error too slim for natural forces. Objects do not hesitate. They do not pause as though thinking, yet 3I Atlas did. The second anomaly comes from the deep penetration radar arrays. They recorded a resonance chamber within the structure, a hollow zone surrounded by layered material unlike cometary ice or dust. The echoes suggest reinforcement, symmetry, perhaps even compartments. Natural bodies are messy, irregular, fractured. This is not. The third anomaly is the most unsettling. A faint electromagnetic ripple, radiating at regular intervals, detectable only when Earth's magnetic field aligns at a specific angle. It is as though the object is using the planet's own shielding as a lens, amplifying its signal through our world's natural contours. Even the astronomers at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory admitted that the behavior suggests deliberate coupling with geomagnetic dynamics. They tried to phrase it carefully, but the implication lingers in the spaces between their words. It is choosing when to be heard. Echoes from the past stir when you think of how earlier generations tried to interpret the sky using whatever language they had. Ancient Chinese astronomers recorded thinking stars, objects that dimmed and brightened with rhythmic precision. The Navajo stories speak of a traveler that waits, a celestial visitor that paused in its path until the world was ready to see it. Even the old Greek texts describe wandering bodies that took counsel among themselves, lingering in the heavens as though held by intention rather than orbit. You used to dismiss these stories as metaphors, as cultural reflections carved from imagination. But tonight, lying in the quiet, the connections feel less poetic and more like memory carried forward in myth. Maybe ancient observers witnessed something real, something they could not explain except through story. The cosmic perspective opens when you imagine 3I Atlas against the backdrop of interstellar darkness, moving with a grace no ordinary visitor should possess. The new spectral maps reveal trails of ionized particles, forming recursive loops, patterns that repeat across the object's trajectory, like fingerprints left in the vacuum. The symmetry is uncanny loops within loops, spirals that expand in predictable ratios, reminiscent of mathematical sequences. Even the latest simulations from NASA's computational division show that the object adjusts its Comet output in response to solar wind pressure, not reactively, but proactively, as though anticipating environmental shifts. And then there is the reflection event, a second one detected by an observatory in South Africa. A narrow band of light pulsed directly toward Earth for 3 seconds, its frequency stable, its amplitude controlled. It was not a coincidence. It was a gesture, a faint acknowledgement across the cosmic gulf. When you imagine the object turning slightly, adjusting its angle just enough to cast that beam toward our world, the universe feels suddenly intimate in a way that is difficult to describe. The human reflection settles into you with a softer weight, reminding you that the search for meaning has always been a deeply personal endeavor. The scientists passing this data are not robots. They are people with hopes, fears, quiet dreams of discovery, and lifelong commitments to understanding the universe. You picture one researcher leaning back in their chair, hand covering their mouth, trying to steady themselves before writing a formal statement that cannot say what they truly feel. You imagine the late-night conversations whispered between colleagues who admit only off the record that this object behaves like a messenger. You feel a kinship with them, with all those who have ever looked up and wondered whether humanity is truly alone in its thinking. And the more evidence emerges, the more you sense the universe leaning closer, as though meeting that curiosity with its own. The great silence returns in the closing moments of your thoughts, gentle and pervasive, settling over the night like a soft exhale. The world around you fades into quiet, and the vastness of space stretches out beyond your ceiling, beyond your walls, beyond everything familiar. 3i Atlas moves through that silence with purpose, carrying secrets older than memory, waiting with a patience that feels both comforting and disquieting. You breathe more slowly, letting the silence cradle you, letting your thoughts drift into the dark, where possibilities unfold without urgency. And there, wrapped in the calm, you feel the lingering presence of one unanswered thought. If 3i Atlas has been revealing itself piece by piece, then what truth lies in the next layer it has yet to? Tonight, as a gentle tightening of focus, like the moment your eyes adjust to a dim room and shapes begin to emerge from the shadows, the newest transmission has settled across the scientific world like a tremor that only the attentive can feel. It comes not with drama, not with bold declarations, but with the quiet authority of data that refuses to be dismissed. You lie there beneath the soft dark, sensing that the veil over 3i Atlas has thinned once more. The proof has been building layer by layer, but tonight's edition feels different, more direct, more deliberate, as though the object itself has offered a subtle nod to those watching. The shift is small, yet unmistakable, like the first faint stir before a great turning. The evidence deepens when you let your thoughts settle into the details of the newest finding, the luminosity modulation. For the first time, a coordinated set of observatories captured a synchronized tri-band fluctuation that repeated 3 times with perfect consistency. Not random, not reactive, but structured. The pulse sequence mirrored the timing of the internal heat oscillations, revealing an underlying rhythm that ties both phenomena together. Natural objects do not maintain coherence across multiple wavelengths like this. There is an intelligence to the timing, a symmetry to the intervals, as if 3i Atlas is aligning its emissions according to a system we have not yet deciphered. Then there is the geometric drift. High-resolution imaging from the European Southern Observatory shows micro-adjustments in the exterior plate formations that appear angular rather than curved, shifting with a precision that defies outgassing or stress fractures. The adjustments are too small to alter the trajectory, too subtle to register as propulsion, yet too exact to be chance. A natural comet does not tune its own geometry, but something engineered might. The third anomaly is the most profound: particle waveform interference. Instruments detected patterned interference in the dust tail, as though 2 coherent sources within the structure emitted overlapping oscillations. The resulting interference pattern is stable, intentional, purposeful, a whisper in physics. As echoes from the past rise, your thoughts drift to those old astronomical chronicles that spoke of stars with voices. The Mayan codices describe objects whose brightness shifted in repeating sequences, believed to mimic the chants of ritual singers. Early Arabic star catalogues reference the messenger that blinks thrice, a wandering object noted for its 3-part luminosity rhythm. Scholars have long treated these accounts as symbolic fragments woven into mythology, but tonight their words feel less like metaphor and more like the earliest attempts to record the very behavior we are now witnessing. You imagine early astronomers looking up from hand-drawn charts, sensing intention in the sky, but lacking the language to express it. Their stories were memory, dressed in poetry. Their myths were data waiting centuries for context. The cosmic perspective widens when you picture 3I Atlas drifting through the black ocean of interstellar space, carrying its patterns with the calm steadiness of something that has traveled for an impossibly long time. It turns slowly, releasing faint waves of charged particles that seem to map its surroundings with impossible precision. The new simulations show the object adjusting its pitch angle by a mere fraction of a degree as it moved through a region of solar wind turbulence, as though compensating for drag that a natural body would simply endure. Even its path through the heliosphere suggests awareness of environmental shifts, a subtle, graceful adaptation that mirrors the behavior of an experienced traveler navigating currents rather than drifting helplessly within them. And then comes the newest spectral echo. A brief, crystalline tone appeared in the audio translations of particle data captured by a probe from the Indian Space Research Organization. The tone corresponds not to random noise, but to a harmonic that fits perfectly into the ultraviolet ratio discovered days earlier. Not only is the object emitting structured information, it is doing so in a way that suggests continuity, a system, a language, a design. The human reflection arrives when you consider why this matters so deeply to you. It is not just curiosity, not just fascination with the unknown. It is the recognition of something you have quietly hoped was true, that intelligence in the universe might not be a lonely accident. That thought might echo across worlds. That intention might exist beyond Earth. You imagine the scientists who first heard the crystalline tone stopping in stunned silence, their hands hovering over keyboards as the implications settled in. You picture them exchanging glances, not speaking at first, not because they lacked words, but because the enormity of the discovery required stillness. You understand that feeling the mix of awe, fear, and profound gratitude that accompanies the moment you realize you are no longer simply observing nature. You are listening to something that may be speaking. The great silence returns like a soft curtain pulled across the world. The night deepens, and you feel the quiet expand in every direction, as though the universe itself is leaning close. 3I Atlas drifts onward, patient and aware, offering hints without haste, revealing only what observers are prepared to perceive. In that silence, you feel both small and connected, grounded in the knowledge that something vast and ancient may be reaching toward your understanding. And in the center of that quiet rests one lingering thought. If these patterns are steps in a conversation, then the awakening arrive like a quiet shimmer across the surface of your thoughts, the same subtle shift that comes when a long-held suspicion suddenly gains the weight of confirmation. Something in the newest data release pulls your attention toward it, gentle but insistent, as though inviting you to lean closer. You settle deeper into the calm of your night, breathing slowly, letting the world fall away until it is only you and the thin thread of truth weaving itself into clarity. The scientists who analyzed this latest batch of readings did not speak with excitement. They spoke with care, as though aware that their conclusions might reshape the conversation entirely. And somewhere in that quiet caution, you feel the unmistakable spark of revelation. The evidence deepens when you let the details settle into your mind like stepping stones across a dark river. The first is the rotational signature. For the first time, 3 different observatories captured a synchronized modulation in the object's spin, an elegant, wave-like fluctuation that moved from pole to equator in a slow, deliberate sweep. Natural rotations do not ripple, they do not cascade, they turn. But 3I Atlas seems to shift, as though redistributing internal mass with purpose. The second anomaly is the energy retention event. After a brief burst of solar radiation, the object's surface temperature rose as expected, but instead of radiating that heat back into space, it stored it, slowly, precisely, selectively. The heat gradient thickened in specific bands, forming symmetrical rings that matched the particle interference patterns discovered days earlier. A comet does not choose how it cools, but this one does. The third anomaly arrives with the quiet force of inevitability: structured photonic discharge. Instruments recorded faint pulses of light escaping from beneath the surface layers, arranged in a repeating sequence of 11 intervals. 11 is not random, 11 is pattern. 11 is intention disguised as mathematics. Even the team at the European Space Agency admitted in their internal notes that the consistency was incompatible with stochastic thermal fracturing. Echoes from the past ripple through you when you remember the ancient accounts of celestial bodies that shimmered from within, described in Babylonian clay tablets and the star lore of the Maori navigators. Those stories spoke of objects that glowed rhythmically, not like flames or reflections, but like lanterns that breathed. For centuries, historians dismissed those tales as mythic embellishments or symbolic imagery meant to denote divine presence. But tonight, with structured photonic pulses recorded in real time, those stories feel less poetic and more observational. Maybe ancient eyes saw something real, something that left an imprint deep enough for legend to carry forward long after the object itself passed from view. The cosmic perspective widens as you imagine 3I Atlas in its silent voyage, drifting with a precision too graceful for any natural wanderer. You picture it rotating slowly, its surface plates shifting with an order that mirrors the deep logic of engineered systems. The solar wind sweeps past it, but instead of losing material chaotically, the object channels dust through two symmetrical vents along its equator, releasing particles in arcs that resemble the controlled exhaust of a machine calibrating its environment. The newest computer models confirm what earlier theories hesitated to articulate. The structure compensates for external forces. It responds, and then there is the directional flare. For just 1 second, a thin spear of reflected sunlight escaped from a triangular facet on the object's surface and pointed directly toward Earth. It was so faint that only one telescope caught it, but the geometry of the reflection suggested alignment, not accident. The cosmos rarely feels intimate, but this was a gesture, a brief glance in our direction, a soft acknowledgement across the void. The human reflection settles in as you think about what it must feel like to be one of the scientists receiving this information in real time. The long nights, the quiet desperation for clarity, the careful balancing act between skepticism and wonder, all of that sharpens into a moment where the data no longer hides behind ambiguity. You imagine a researcher leaning over their console, staring at the pulsing sequence of 11 reflected in the monitor glow, feeling a tremor of awe bloom quietly in their chest. You sense their hesitation to speak the obvious truth aloud. You feel their need to protect it, to cradle the discovery like a fragile, glowing ember that could burn away centuries of doubt if held in the open too soon. And then you think about yourself, lying in the hush of your room, connected to that quiet network of watchers who have spent months learning how to listen. Your hopes, your curiosity, your quiet longing for confirmation, they all align with the steady pulse of the data. Proof does not always arrive with thunder. Sometimes it arrives as a sequence of 11 soft lights. The great silence returns like a veil descending gently across your thoughts. The world narrows to a calm, dim stillness, and the universe stretches above you in infinite, patient quiet. 3i Atlas drifts onward, its pulses continuing, its structure shifting, its presence lingering like a question too vast to fit into language. You breathe slowly, letting the silence carry you deeper into the night. And there, in the soft hollow of that quiet, a single unresolved thought lingers. If the object is communicating through pattern, what meaning lies in the sequence it has chosen to repeat? You feel the awakening stirring once more, a quiet ripple along the edges of perception, the kind that brushes against the mind when a truth too intricate to name nudges your awareness. Tonight, it is the shape of 3i Atlas's trajectory that draws your gaze inward. There is a rhythm to its approach, one you can almost sense in the steady pull of the stars, in the soft hum of the universe beneath the skin of the night. Observatories have collected thousands of measurements, yet each number feels like a whisper, each calculation a soft nudge towards something larger than comprehension. You close your eyes for a moment and imagine the object itself, slipping silently through the void, a traveler older than your own imagination, carrying secrets that stretch across light years. The evidence deepens as you dwell on its mass, 33 billion tons. It is more than just a number. It is a statement of stubborn gravity, the kind that bends expectations as surely as it bends the path of celestial bodies. Outgassing occurs, yes, but the trajectory holds unyielding, precise, almost deliberate. Every particle of ice and dust ejected is accounted for, every pulse of light meticulously aligned with the silent logic of its rotation. Scientists have measured these anomalies, described them in careful language, but when you let the figures sink into your mind, you realize that natural law strains beneath the weight of this single interstellar visitor. It is as if 3i Atlas obeys rules not written in physics textbooks, a creature of calculation that responds rather than drifts. Echoes from the past resurface when you consider the homogeneity of ancient observations. Cultures separated by oceans and centuries, from Sumerian stargazers to Polynesian navigators, described stars that breathed, lights that flickered with intentionality, not like fire, not like ordinary reflection. These were not stories of imagination alone. They were records of perception, impressions of a universe that occasionally intersects with the observer in ways too precise to be random. When you layer those accounts over the modern data, the 11-interval photonic discharge, the deliberate heat retention, you see continuity, threads connecting the present with millennia past. Something ancient is moving again, and its movement has a pattern that the human mind, trained to see randomness, cannot entirely ignore. The cosmic perspective expands as you imagine its rotation, a slow choreography of plates and fissures, dust channeled along equatorial vents, a triangular facet reflecting sunlight in one thin spear toward Earth. It is almost intimate, this gesture, across hundreds of millions of kilometers, You sense the calculated elegance of a system compensating for solar wind, absorbing energy, emitting it in organized bursts, balancing forces in a manner no natural comet has ever displayed. The universe is not indifferent here. It is aware, in the way that a sculptor is aware of the curve of their clay. You feel yourself drawn into its orbit, mentally tracing the path of 3I Atlas, as if the cosmos itself conspired to reveal a secret only to those patient enough to notice. The human reflection comes in a gentle tide. You imagine a researcher leaning over the screen, eyes tracing the pulse patterns, hands hovering over the keyboard, but reluctant to speak. Weeks, months, perhaps years of study, distilled into sequences of numbers and intervals that reveal a language older than any human alphabet. You imagine the hesitation, the reverence, the protective instinct to shield this anomaly from premature exposure. And then you think of yourself, here in the quiet dark, aligned with those hours of observation, your curiosity, a bridge linking solitary minds across time and space. The data is no longer remote. It is immediate, intimate, something that brushes against your awareness and insists upon consideration. You feel a slow recognition settle. This is no ordinary comet. It is something that demands contemplation, patience, and an unspoken acknowledgement of mystery. The great silence returns like a soft exhale. All around you, the universe stretches, patient, unblinking, vast. 3I Atlas drifts through this expanse, and the measurements you have internalized are mere echoes of its presence. The rotational modulation, the photonic sequences, the heat retention, they all converge into a single, unresolved question: intention or coincidence. The night holds this query in suspension, letting you float in the liminal space between awe and comprehension. The patterns whisper, the numbers hum, yet no answer emerges fully formed. You breathe slowly, feeling the pulse of your own attention synchronize with the cadence of a distant traveler, aware of your smallness, your curiosity, and the vast unknown it represents. And then, as the final calm settles over the mind, you recognize the soft, unanswerable truth. For all the data, all the observations, all the ancient echoes and modern calculations, 3I Atlas is still moving, still observing in its silent, deliberate way. Its story continues beyond the reach of your senses, beyond the sight of telescopes, beyond the reach of human expectation. Tonight, you are a witness, not a solver. You lie in the quiet dark, aware of the presence that passes through your solar neighborhood, carrying mysteries you may never fully grasp. The universe exhales with you, and you exhale in return, letting the silence cradle your mind, letting the questions linger as gentle companions until the night draws you fully into rest. The kind that brushes the edges of your thoughts when something ancient is stirring in plain sight. Tonight, it is the path of 3I Atlas that anchors your attention, the way it threads through space with a certainty that defies casual observation. Every angle, every rotation, every pulse is catalogued in silent precision, yet the story it tells is not yet fully comprehensible. You lie in your room, tracing its trajectory in your mind, feeling the slow, deliberate rhythm of an object older than memory, moving with a purpose that the cosmos itself seems to respect. You are awake enough to notice, and quiet enough to feel it. The evidence deepens, as your mind dwells on the energy readings. The latest spectral data reveals patterns of radiation absorption that are both meticulous and deliberate. Bands of material on the surface heat and cool in symmetry, storing energy and releasing it according to intervals that suggest an intelligence embedded in the fabric of its composition. Natural physics does not account for such precise retention. You imagine the scientists scrutinizing these numbers, hesitant to declare the obvious, balancing their skepticism with awe. And yet, the evidence piles, layer upon layer, until disbelief stretches thin and the reality of something anomalous presses quietly against reason. Echoes from the past reverberate as you recall the stories of ancient astronomers, eyes lifted to the night sky, recording phenomena they could not explain. Celestial bodies that breathed light, objects that shifted and shimmered with internal cadence, accounts preserved across cultures and continents. The Maori, the Sumerians, Babylonian scribes, all noted phenomena that modern science now glimpses in 3-eye atlas. Those ancient observers, thought to be recording allegory, may have simply been attentive witnesses. The patterns you now see, photon pulses, rotational modulation, structured energy release, were written into the heavens long before human technology existed to measure them. Tonight, they echo, a bridge between millennia of observation and the quiet present. The cosmic perspective opens as you picture 3-eye atlas drifting through interplanetary space, its surface rotating in a deliberate rhythm, the triangular facet reflecting sunlight like a subtle signal, the equatorial vents releasing particles with precise arcs. Each movement compensates for the solar wind, for gravitational tides, for forces that would scatter lesser objects into chaos. You feel the elegance of its trajectory, a silent choreography dictated not by randomness but by order, a subtle hint that the universe sometimes arranges itself according to unknown criteria. From Earth, it seems distant and inert. From its own frame, it is deliberate, alive, in the slow calculus of motion, a traveler conducting a symphony no one has yet fully heard. The human reflection arises in the quiet understanding of those who track it. You imagine a researcher at a console, eyes tracing intervals of 11, noting the careful symmetry, the consistency across observatories, the precision with which the comet, or what seems to be more, carries its information. There is restraint, a hesitation, born of the weight of implication. They do not speak aloud what they see. They archive it, catalogue it, shield it from premature interpretation. And you, listening in the stillness of night, feel a kinship with that patience, a recognition that comprehension arrives in layers, that awe and caution can coexist. The story is larger than any one observer, and yet each one bears the responsibility of its truth. The great silence descends like a soft curtain, folding the cosmos into its infinite stillness. 3-eye atlas continues, hidden behind the sun, traveling toward perihelion, its pulses unbroken, its internal order maintained, despite the solar furnace it will soon encounter. The data you have absorbed hums faintly in your mind: rotational modulation, energy retention, structured photonic discharge, and yet no sound escapes. No words can capture the totality of its presence. You feel the vastness, the patient scale of interstellar movement, the deliberate tempo of forces and patterns far beyond human reach. In the hush, the final question lingers: If 3I Atlas is intentional, if it encodes information or meaning, what message will emerge when the sun no longer obscures our view? You breathe slowly, letting the silence carry you, letting the unanswered questions nestle into the edges of thought. The object continues its passage, indifferent to observation, yet orchestrating its own display of precision. You recognize your smallness, the ephemeral nature of attention, and yet you feel tethered to this narrative, a witness to the slow unfolding of something profoundly deliberate. And then, in the last gentle exhale before sleep begins, you accept the unresolved, the pattern without conclusion, the knowledge that the universe may be speaking in a language that requires patience, observation, and wonder to even begin to translate. Tonight, 3I Atlas drifts onward, and you drift with it, cradled by the great silence, caught between curiosity and comprehension, between mystery and the slow unfolding of night. The awakening like a whisper brushing against the corners of awareness, the kind that tingles just beneath consciousness when something ancient stirs in plain sight. Tonight, it is the subtle variations in 3I Atlas's glow that draw you inward, urging your attention to the faint fluctuations in brightness, the almost imperceptible rhythm that hints at something alive within the inanimate. The pulses, the gentle shifts in its photometric signature, insist that you look closer, even as your mind lingers in the calm of night. You become aware of the dance of photons across the void, each photon carrying with it a fraction of a story from billions of kilometers away. Each observation is a soft step on a long, hidden path through the stars. Each piece of data, a thread leading to something far larger than the sum of its parts. You breathe slowly, letting awareness settle like fine dust. And in that inhalation, you sense the quiet insistence of a presence that has traveled farther than imagination can reach. Somewhere beyond sight, yet tangible in consequence, 3I Atlas seems to exist both outside time and inside your attention, an object simultaneously frozen and in motion. The evidence deepens as the spectroscopic data unfolds before you. Nickel without iron, a chemical signature that violates all prior cometry norms, presents itself as if in deliberate defiance. The peculiar alignment of volatile emissions, organized almost geometrically across its surface, hints at a structure responding with a purpose rather than randomness. You consider the astronomers' calculations, their models predicting chaotic dispersal, yet instead revealing a subtle order, a symmetry that whispers intention. It is not overt, it is quiet, measured, almost conversational in its coordination of mass and energy. The structured heat patterns, the sequential photonic discharges, each flare and pulse resonates like a note in a cosmic composition. 3I Atlas is performing a choreography that defies expectation, a performance that feels almost designed to be witnessed by minds attentive enough to notice. A gentle unease settles in as you realize that these observations are not merely statistical anomalies. They are questions cast in light, invitations to consider scales, both microscopic and cosmic, a recognition that the universe itself might be hinting at deliberate action, or at the least, a design that exceeds natural randomness. Echoes from the past emerge when you recall stories from cultures across continents and millennia. Babylonian tablets speaking of celestial bodies that breathe, Polynesian navigators charting stars that shimmer rhythmically, myths recounting glowing objects that pulse with internal rhythm. These are not merely allegories. They are observational threads woven through human history, moments when human perception caught something extraordinary and encoded it in metaphor. You trace their echoes alongside the 11 interval photonic pulses, the rotational modulations of 3I Atlas, and the resonance is uncanny. Across centuries, these observations, once dismissed as symbolic, now align uncannily with what modern instruments detect. There is a continuity, a bridge across millennia, suggesting that human curiosity has always brushed against phenomena that science is only now beginning to quantify. Each ancient record, each mythic description, hums alongside your observations, as if the past and present are co-conspirators in a quiet revelation. The cosmic perspective widens as you imagine the object drifting through the interplanetary void. You see its equatorial vents releasing particles with precision, surface plates shifting in a rhythm that counters solar wind and gravitational tides. A thin, triangular facet reflects sunlight toward Earth in what could be interpreted as an almost deliberate gesture, a fleeting communication across vast emptiness. There is an elegance here that surpasses randomness, a silent choreography of mass and energy speaking of order. Each orbit, each subtle precession, unfolds across millions of kilometers as a narrative written in motion. In the stillness of night, you feel an uncanny connection to this motion, a sense that the cosmos speaks in a language comprehensible only through patient observation. Through attention stretched across both time and distance, the interplanetary space around 3I Atlas becomes a stage for phenomena that bridge physics and poetry, each action an inquiry, each reaction a subtle answer. The human reflection arrives as you consider the astronomers, the scientists, and the quiet observers recording this anomaly. Hours of meticulous tracking, moments of uncertainty tempered by awe, form the human counterpart to the cosmic narrative. They archive, annotate, and measure, aware that the implications of what they observe may not yet be ready for disclosure, and you, lying quietly, become part of this continuum, a witness to both human diligence and cosmic mystery. Your curiosity forms a subtle bridge between observation and comprehension, a reminder that understanding accumulates in patient attention, that insights often emerge slowly, in the spaces between data points, in the quiet moments when one allows wonder to fully register. The great silence envelops everything like a soft, infinite shroud. 3I Atlas moves behind the sun toward perihelion, its pulses and rotations intact, its mass inscrutable. The details, heat retention, photonic discharge, rotational patterns, resonate quietly, unresolved, suspended between awe and uncertainty. You breathe slowly, letting silence carry you, letting patterns rest alongside you in darkness. And as sleep beckons, a lingering question remains. If this object is intentional, if it carries a message, a function, or a purpose, what will emerge once the sun no longer conceals it? The uncertainty becomes a companion rather than a burden, a gentle tether to a narrative older than human memory. You lie tethered to the unfolding story, a witness to something older, stranger, and more deliberate than your own comprehension. The universe exhales, you exhale, and in that shared rhythm, you feel the gentle pull of a mystery destined to endure beyond observation, beyond knowledge, beyond the measure of time itself. A faint ripple along the edges of thought, the quiet pull of curiosity that draws you to watch, to notice, to listen. Tonight, it is the subtle vibrancy of 3I Atlas that commands attention, the way its light flickers across space with a rhythm that seems intentional, measured. You let your mind trace the faint modulation in brightness, a gentle oscillation that echoes the patterns the instruments have recorded. Each pulse, each shift in photometric signature resonates softly in your imagination, hinting at a deliberate structure behind its motion. The light does not simply travel, it conveys, it insists, it signals. You settle deeper into the night, aware of the object, aware of your own perception, connected to something older than memory, something that predates the inventions of your most sophisticated telescopes. The evidence deepens as you consider the spectral anomalies. Nickel appears without iron, a chemical fingerprint that refuses natural expectation, suggesting refinement or purposeful separation, a process that hints at intelligence or at least purposeful assembly. Heat retention bands, symmetrical and exact, pulse with a rhythm that seems designed rather than accidental. Outgassing continues in subtle, almost deliberate bursts, yet the trajectory remains unaltered, a massive nucleus resisting motion in defiance of expectations. Scientists have catalogued each irregularity with painstaking care, yet when the evidence accumulates, the pattern becomes undeniable. These are no random anomalies. They are precise, calculated, and repeated. You feel the weight of these observations in your mind, the quiet insistence that coincidence alone cannot account for such precision. The object moves with purpose. Its actions deliberate across cosmic scales. Its structure, a cipher waiting to be understood. Echoes from the past whisper through memory, recalling the stories of ancient observers. Babylonian scribes noting stars that glimmered in cadence. Maori navigators describing lights that pulsed with rhythm. European astronomers recording unusual comets that seemed to breathe. These records, once dismissed as allegorical or myth, now resonate with new meaning. The 11 interval, photonic discharge, the synchronized rotation, the structured emission of heat, all suggest a continuity between those ancient eyes and modern instruments. Tonight, the echoes are more than metaphor. They are evidence of an enduring pattern, one that bridges the centuries, connecting human curiosity to the quiet, deliberate motion of 3I Atlas. You imagine the scribes, the navigators, the early astronomers, tracing their fingers along the night sky, unaware that their observations would one day align with sophisticated photometric data, with pulses of light traveling across billions of kilometers, measured and quantified only by instruments far beyond their reach. The past hums in harmony with the present, a thread connecting human perception to cosmic choreography. The cosmic perspective expands as you envision the object in its silent voyage, plates shifting in subtle rotations, vents channeling particles with precision, a triangular facet sending a thin reflection toward Earth. Its motion compensates for solar wind and gravitational tides, a choreography that seems calculated, not random. You sense the interplay of mass, energy, and motion, the elegance of orbits bending under gravity, yet guided by some unseen logic. The alignment of its surface features with rotational cycles, the timing of particle releases, all hint at a subtle intelligence, or at the very least, a remarkable consistency of design, as if the laws of physics themselves were being respected and orchestrated. You feel the harmony of its trajectory, the order within chaos, the sense that the universe itself has been listening and responding to a logic beyond ordinary comprehension. Each detail reinforces the sense that 3I Atlas is more than a comet, more than an interstellar rock. It is a presence, deliberate, attentive, enduring. The human reflection emerges as you consider the researchers observing these phenomena. They linger over consoles, eyes tracing the 11 interval sequences, hands hovering above keyboards, hesitant to speak the implications aloud. Their caution is tempered with reverence, the recognition that understanding such an anomaly demands patience, respect, and silence. You imagine the countless nights spent cross-referencing spectral lines, calculating mass from outgassing, adjusting models to account for rotational modulation. And you, lying quietly in your room, share in that vigilance. Your attention, your curiosity, your wonder all become part of the network of observation that stretches across space, time, and minds. The awareness of 3I Atlas is shared, collective, yet deeply personal, a quiet communion between observer and observed. You feel part of a continuum of human engagement with the cosmos, a witness to the incremental accumulation of understanding, to the careful tending of curiosity as it stretches toward revelation. The great silence descends again, enveloping the mind and universe alike. 3I Atlas drifts through interplanetary space, hidden behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its pulses unbroken, its structure intact, its intent inscrutable. The patterns, the heat retention, the photon discharge, the rotational modulation linger in your consciousness, unresolved, delicate, and compelling. You breathe slowly, letting the stillness carry you, the unanswered questions nestling alongside your thoughts. What is the meaning behind the sequences? What message, if any, is embedded in this vast, deliberate motion? The object moves onward, silent and patient, a traveler beyond observation, and you lie tethered to its story, a witness to something immense, slow, and utterly alive in the quiet fabric of space. Each moment, each pulse, each fraction of light carries the weight of eons and possibilities, and you sense that what has been hidden behind the sun may one day speak, if only in ways subtle enough to require patience and care to interpret. You feel the edges of comprehension expand, the night pressing in gently as your mind aligns with the rhythm of this interstellar presence. Each detail, each anomaly, each echo from the past resonates in soft harmony, leaving you suspended in awe and contemplation. The universe exhales, and you exhale in return, cradled by the great silence, holding the questions without answers, embracing the mysteries without end. Tonight, 3I Atlas continues its journey, and you continue with it, a patient observer in the calm, unbroken hush of the cosmos, aware that in this shared quiet, both you and the universe are part of a narrative older than memory, yet always unfolding. 3I Atlas's behavior. Its motion is subtle, yet there is a discernible pattern, a slow, deliberate cadence in the way it rotates, how its surface reflects light in sequences measured and precise. You allow yourself to dwell on these small anomalies, feeling their weight settle in the mind, each one a soft push toward recognition. It is a presence that exists independently of your observation, yet invites it, coaxing patience and quiet focus. The faint oscillations in luminosity seem to ripple outward, brushing against the edge of comprehension, each pulse a whisper of something older than memory, older than your own awareness. The night deepens, and the glow of distant stars frames the movement of this singular interstellar traveler, a subtle reminder that your attention stretches across the void, touching the edges of a mystery whose scale defies ordinary understanding. The evidence deepens as the data reveals more complexity. Spectroscopic readings show a meticulous distribution of nickel without iron, a chemical signature inconsistent with naturally occurring comets. Heat retention across surface bands persists, storing energy only to release it in intervals aligned with observed rotational modulations. Even the jets of outgassing, sufficient in volume to influence motion, leave the trajectory nearly untouched, suggesting a mass and density beyond expectation, an internal structure resilient against the forces of ejection and solar radiation. You feel the tension in the numbers, the quiet insistence that natural explanations strain beneath the weight of repeated, precise anomalies. Each dataset, each spectral line, carries the echo of a logic embedded in the object itself, a rhythm that seems designed rather than accidental. The orbit is not merely a path through space, but a narrative arc, and your mind leans in to understand its cadence, its subtle insistence that observation matters, that each measurement is a conversation with a presence older than recorded history. Echoes from the past resurface, whispering the stories of ancient observers. Sumerian scribes marking celestial phenomena with painstaking care. Polynesian navigators noting lights that shimmered with purpose. Medieval European astronomers recording comets that pulsed with a quiet cadence. These accounts, long dismissed as myth or allegory, gain new resonance in the light of modern measurements. The 11-interval photonic pulse, the synchronized rotations, the deliberate energy retention, all suggest a continuity between those ancient eyes and modern instruments. Tonight, in the calm of your room, the threads of history connect to the pulses of 3I Atlas, weaving a quiet continuum across millennia. You imagine those ancient watchers, tracing lines across clay tablets or inked parchments, sensing patterns in the skies they could not fully explain, their observations unmoored from conventional science yet aligned, eerily and accurately, with what your modern instruments now reveal. The past becomes a silent chorus accompanying the object's journey, a subtle confirmation that wonder has always been part of human experience, and that some truths are persistent across cultures and centuries. The cosmic perspective expands as you envision the object drifting through the void, its plates rotating in precise patterns, equatorial vents channeling dust in arcs designed to compensate for external forces. A triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, sending a reflection toward Earth, a fleeting gesture that seems almost communicative across the vastness of space. Its motion defies randomness, yet is perfectly harmonious with the forces it encounters, a testament to meticulous engineering or natural improbability, so extreme it becomes indistinguishable from intent. You feel the elegance, the order underlying chaos, and the deep, patient logic written into the movements of a traveler that predates your observation. The object's trajectory through the solar system is not a mere crossing, it is a deliberate arc, a choreography that engages gravitational tides, radiation pressure, and interplanetary dynamics in a symphony of motion that unfolds silently across millions of kilometers. In your mind, the object ceases to be a distant rock and becomes a storyteller, a carrier of hidden knowledge, moving with precision that hints at intelligence, awareness, or a remarkable cosmic alignment of cause and effect. The human reflection emerges as you imagine the scientists observing these patterns. Hours of meticulous calculation, quiet awe, and careful hesitation fill their nights as they note the sequences and symmetries. They archive findings, resisting premature conclusions, preserving the mystery until comprehension can safely coexist with understanding. And you, quietly observing from your own vantage, become part of that continuum, your attention joining the network of vigilance. Each pulse, each observation, each thoughtful pause contributes to a shared awareness, a subtle communion between mind and cosmos, human and interstellar. You sense the humility in their work, the recognition that the universe presents phenomena far beyond human scale, requiring patience, observation, and respect. Your own quiet attention mirrors theirs, a single node in a vast network of consciousness spanning continents, telescopes, and observatories, bound together by curiosity, reverence, and the desire to witness without interruption the deliberate unfolding of something extraordinary. The great silence returns, enfolding the scene in quiet vastness. 3i Atlas continues its journey behind the Sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal order intact, its motion deliberate, inscrutable. The anomalies, the thermal sequences, the photon pulses, the rotational modulation linger in your consciousness, unresolved, yet compelling. You breathe slowly, letting the stillness cradle your thoughts, allowing questions without answers to hover gently. What message, if any, is encoded in the object's pattern? What truths, hidden behind millennia of travel, will be revealed when it emerges from the solar glare? You lie suspended in contemplation, tethered to an interstellar narrative that moves independently of you, yet in which you participate by watching, by noticing, by attending. Each passing moment reinforces a sense of scale and continuity. The object is ancient, vast in scope, and precise in execution, yet it communicates subtly through motion, reflection, and light. Its story unfolds not in words but in presence, an interstellar rhythm that resonates across the vacuum, across your awareness, across the human story itself. And in the hush of night, you sense the enormity of the universe and your place within it. The object moves onward, silent, deliberate, its secrets intact. The patterns it leaves behind, the anomalies you observe, the echoes across time, they become companions in your quiet reflection. You exhale with the rhythm of the cosmos, aware of the vast scales, the patient intelligence in motion, and the mysteries that remain beyond immediate comprehension. Tonight, 3i Atlas drifts onward, and you drift with it, held in the careful, infinite silence of space, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of an interstellar presence older than any human observation, yet intimately felt in the quiet of your own attention. In the stillness, The subtle pulse of its light continues to resonate within you, a quiet reminder that the universe is vast, deliberate, and filled with structures and rhythms far older than memory, waiting patiently for observation, for comprehension, for presence. Its movement through the void is unhurried, almost contemplative, yet each rotation and reflection hints at intent, an internal logic that defies the randomness you expect of comets. You lean into the stillness of night, letting your mind trace the faint modulations in brightness, the gentle shifts in surface temperature, the structured pulses of light that escape from deep within its core. Each anomaly carries weight. Each measurement feels like a step closer to understanding an ancient narrative unfolding in silence. The evidence deepens as the spectral readings draw your attention. Nickel appears in increasing concentration, while iron remains conspicuously absent, a chemical signature inconsistent with naturally formed interstellar objects. Bands of retained heat pulse rhythmically along the surface, forming symmetrical patterns aligned with the object's rotation, storing energy in precise intervals. Outgassing continues, yet the trajectory remains remarkably stable, suggesting a mass sufficient to resist the thrust of expelled material. These observations are catalogued by teams of scientists, each data point carefully measured and verified, yet when combined they form a pattern that hints at design, subtle yet undeniable. The numbers insist upon consideration. Coincidence strains beneath their weight. Echoes from the past whisper in the shadows of your mind, recalling ancient observations across millennia. Sumerian tablets describing stars that shimmered with breath. Polynesian navigators charting lights that pulsed with rhythm. Medieval European astronomers noting comets that moved with an almost sentient cadence. The 11-interval photonic pulse, the synchronized rotation, the deliberate retention and release of energy, all resonate with these historical accounts. Those ancient witnesses, previously dismissed as allegorical, now appear to have observed patterns of a cosmic order that modern instruments have only just begun to detect. Tonight, you sense the threads of history align with the object before you, a bridge across time illuminated by scientific inquiry and human attention. The cosmic perspective widens as you envision the object drifting through the void, its surface plates shifting in subtle choreography, equatorial vents channeling dust with precision, a triangular facet reflecting sunlight toward Earth in a fleeting, deliberate gesture. The solar wind brushes past it, yet the pattern of ejection, the alignment of rotation and emission, and the path through space all speak of harmony and balance. Its journey is both independent and coherent, a testament to forces shaping it from within, rather than imposed externally. You feel the elegance of this motion, the deliberate countering of chaos, the faint whisper of order encoded in the trajectory of a traveler older than any human eye. The human reflection arises as you consider the researchers observing these phenomena. Hours of meticulous attention, tempered by awe, spent tracing patterns, calculating mass, analyzing spectral signatures. They hesitate to speak aloud the implications, archiving findings, preserving the mystery until understanding can coexist with revelation. And you, lying quietly in the dim light of night, share in their attention, your curiosity tethered to their observations, a participant in the silent communion between human and interstellar presence. The connection is intangible yet palpable. Each insight, each subtle recognition, a bridge across minds, separated by time, geography, and perspective. The great silence descends like a soft veil, enfolding both the cosmos and your awareness. Three-Eye Atlas continues its voyage behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, carrying its pulses, its structure, its intent unknown yet resonant. The rotational modulations, the photon discharge, the heat retention, all linger in your consciousness, unresolved but compelling. You breathe slowly, letting the quiet envelop you, allowing the questions without answers to settle gently alongside your thoughts. What will the patterns reveal when the sun no longer obscures them? What message, if any, is embedded in this ancient traveler's motion? In the hush, you feel yourself aligned with the patient observation that spans centuries, recognizing the immensity of what moves beyond comprehension and yet touches the mind in subtle waves. Tonight, as sleep approaches, you lie suspended in the quiet awareness of the universe. The object moves onward, deliberate and silent, its mysteries intact, its patterns, its anomalies, its echoes from the past. Each becomes a companion in reflection. You exhale with the rhythm of interstellar movement, aware of vast scales and patient intelligence, of something deliberate in motion and profoundly old. The great silence holds you, and you drift with it, witnessing the unfolding of a presence whose story is older than memory, yet intimately felt in the calm of your attention. You feel the awakening like a gentle pulse beneath your consciousness, a soft tremor that moves through thought, a subtle tug guiding your attention, with a quiet insistence to the presence of Three-Eye Atlas. Its rotations, the faint modulation of reflected light, the almost imperceptible variations in surface heat, they all insist upon your observation, each one carrying a weight beyond immediate perception. You let your mind follow these signals, tracing each pulse, each subtle fluctuation, feeling the slow, deliberate choreography of motion across the void. You imagine the immense distances it has traversed, the billions of kilometers traveled through emptiness, the patience inherent in every rotation, every oscillation of energy, and the faint imprint of intention embedded in the object's very existence. The night stretches around you, serene yet alive with possibility, resonating with the quiet insistence of an entity older than memory, moving with a grace that the human mind can barely apprehend. The evidence deepens as spectral and observational data continue to reveal unusual chemical and physical properties. Nickel appears disproportionately abundant without accompanying iron, defying the chemical expectations of natural cosmic formation and challenging established models of cometary evolution. Heat retention bands absorb and release energy in precise intervals, their timing perfectly synchronized with rotational modulation, forming a subtle rhythm that cannot easily be dismissed as random. Jets of outgassing erupt intermittently, yet the trajectory of the object remains remarkably stable, suggesting immense density and structural integrity far beyond ordinary interstellar comets. Scientists record each anomaly with painstaking care, cross-referencing every measurement, yet the totality of evidence hints at deliberate order, subtle but persistent. You feel the tension between established natural laws and the behavior of the object, the quiet insistence that intentionality, design, or purpose may indeed be encoded within its motions, whispering a narrative too precise to be accidental. Echoes from the past resurface in your awareness. Ancient observers, from the Sumerian scribes of Mesopotamia to Polynesian navigators charting the stars, to medieval European astronomers documenting comets, all recorded phenomena that shimmered or pulsed with apparent purpose, lights in the sky that seemed to breathe, to move with rhythmic cadence, were once dismissed as myth, allegory, or simple human projection. Tonight, however, those accounts resonate differently, aligning with the 11-interval photonic pulses, the rotational modulation, and the structured energy retention that modern instruments reveal. The echoes are vivid, bridging time and space, connecting ancient human perception with contemporary scientific observation. You feel a continuity of awareness across millennia, as if curiosity, attention, and wonder have been transmitted through human consciousness, now reflected back in the deliberate behavior of an interstellar traveler. The cosmic perspective widens as you visualize 3I Atlas drifting through interplanetary space. Surface plates rotate in harmonic cadence, equatorial vents channel dust along precise arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a single, fleeting geometric flare. Its motion is coherent, compensating for the influence of solar wind and gravitational tides, with subtle, elegant precision. You feel the rhythm beneath the chaos, the underlying order suggesting either deliberate design or an improbability so extreme that it mirrors intent. The universe stretches vast and patient around this traveler, framing its presence, a silent testament to careful motion, to quiet sophistication, to a logic that extends beyond human understanding. The surrounding emptiness amplifies the significance of each pulse, each flicker, each subtle signal, as if the cosmos itself conspired to preserve the observation of this deliberate, ancient motion. The human reflection emerges as you consider the researchers observing these phenomena. Hours, perhaps days, spent in meticulous observation, calculation, and contemplation. Their restraint, their careful archiving of data until insight aligns with understanding, mirrors your own patient attention. You lie quietly, your awareness tethered to theirs, forming a subtle connection between observer and observed. Each recognition of pattern, each subtle measurement, becomes part of a network of collective vigilance, a lattice of consciousness spanning the human mind and the interstellar presence of 3I Atlas. You feel communion, a quiet resonance that some mysteries require patience, sustained observation, and alignment across time, space, and mind. The act of watching becomes itself an act of participation, a bridge linking the observer to the deliberate, measured motion unfolding across vast distances. The great silence descends, enveloping both your mind and the cosmos. 3I Atlas continues its path behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its purpose inscrutable. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, energy retention linger in your consciousness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting reflection rather than forcing comprehension. You breathe slowly, allowing quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions hover without demand for answers. What will emerge once the sun no longer conceals it? What message, if any, lies encoded in this ancient, deliberate motion? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative, not in words, but in movement, light, and energy, stretching across interstellar space with meticulous care. As sleep approaches, you become aware of the vastness of the universe and your attentive presence within it. 3i Atlas continues onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale in rhythm with the motion of this ancient traveler, understanding that some mysteries must first be experienced, felt, and absorbed before they can be fully known. The great silence holds you in its gentle embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, intimately present, profoundly significant, and patiently waiting in the quiet, where observation and understanding converge in suspended reverence. You feel the awakening like a soft vibration, a gentle hum brushing along the edges of your awareness, calling your focus to 3i Atlas. Tonight, it is the subtle modulation in brightness, the faint but deliberate variations across its surface that pull you inward. Each pulse is a whisper, each rotation a quiet insistence, a delicate rhythm that seems almost communicative. You lean into the night, letting your mind trace the intricate patterns, the slow unfolding of a presence that has traveled across light years, older than memory, yet intimately perceptible in the stillness of observation. The evidence deepens as you consider the anomalies recorded by the latest observations. Nickel appears without iron, a chemical asymmetry impossible under natural cosmic formation. Heat retention forms bands along the surface, absorbing and releasing energy at intervals precisely aligned with rotational patterns. Outgassing occurs, yet the object's trajectory remains steadfast, suggesting a mass and density capable of withstanding forces that would scatter ordinary comets. Scientists catalogue these phenomena with meticulous care, yet the combined evidence hints at order, at intention, at something beyond randomness. You feel the tension between known physics and the patterns present, the subtle insistence that these measurements convey a message yet unreadable. Echoes from the past resound in the memory of human observation. Babylonian scribes recorded stars that shimmered in cadence. Polynesian navigators charted lights that pulsed rhythmically. Medieval European astronomers described comets, moving with almost sentient timing. These historical records, long dismissed as allegory, now resonate with modern data. The 11-interval photonic pulses, the precise rotational modulation, the structured energy release. Tonight, you sense a continuum across time, a dialogue between ancient observers and current instruments, revealing patterns that are persistent, deliberate, and almost conversational in their subtlety. The cosmic perspective expands as you envision 3i Atlas drifting through interplanetary space, its surface plates rotating in harmonious choreography, equatorial vents channeling dust in arcs that compensate for external forces, a triangular facet reflecting sunlight briefly toward Earth. The solar wind brushes past, yet its motion remains coherent, almost communicative, a silent testament to order within the apparent chaos of the cosmos. You feel the elegance of its journey, the balance between motion and energy, a rhythm that suggests either engineering or an improbability so extreme it becomes indistinguishable from intent. The universe stretches around it, vast and patient, framing the deliberate presence of this interstellar traveler. The human reflection arises as you imagine the scientists who observe these phenomena. Hours of meticulous calculation, measured attention, quiet awe. They archive data, hesitating to speak conclusions aloud, preserving understanding until comprehension and patience align. You, in your quiet room, share in this attention. Your awareness is tethered to theirs, your curiosity a bridge across space and minds. Each observation, each subtle recognition, contributes to a network of vigilance that spans humanity and interstellar presence alike. You sense the communion, the quiet alignment of thought and observation with an object far older and stranger than any human mind alone can grasp. The great silence descends like a soft shroud, folding the cosmos and your consciousness alike. 3. Atlas continues its journey behind the Sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its intent inscrutable. The rotational modulation, the photon pulses, the energy retention linger in your awareness, unresolved yet compelling. You breathe slowly, allowing the stillness to cradle your thoughts, letting the unanswered questions rest gently alongside you. What will the object reveal when it emerges from solar concealment? What message, if any, is embedded in its deliberate motion? You lie suspended in contemplation, connected to a narrative unfolding silently across incomprehensible distance. Tonight, as sleep approaches, you feel the enormity of the universe and your small but attentive presence within it. 3i Atlas moves onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your attention. You exhale with the rhythm of interstellar motion, knowing that some mysteries must be felt before they can be fully understood. The great silence holds you, and you drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of an ancient presence, older than memory, yet intimately present in the quiet of observation. You feel the awakening, like a soft current beneath your thoughts, a gentle pull toward the faint, deliberate motion of 3i Atlas. Its rotation is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet each slight change in reflection and pulse carries weight, a quiet insistence that draws your attention deeper. You settle into the calm of the night, tracing the patterns of light and heat across its surface, imagining the immense distance it has traversed over untold millennia, the precise choreography of its journey, and the faint, almost imperceptible intention woven into every rotation. Each anomaly is a whisper, each observation a thread leading into a vast, unseen narrative that stretches across time and space. You feel your consciousness extending outward, entwined with the rhythms of this distant traveler, following its deliberate and measured passage across the void. The evidence deepens as the latest spectroscopic data unfolds. Nickel concentrations continue to rise without iron, a chemical irregularity impossible in natural formation, suggesting a signature of something engineered or otherwise deliberate. Bands of heat store and release energy at precise intervals, perfectly synchronized with rotational cycles, an orchestration that defies randomness. Jets of outgassing burst intermittently, yet the trajectory remains almost perfectly stable, implying immense mass and structural integrity far beyond ordinary interstellar comets. Scientists catalog these observations meticulously, checking and cross-referencing measurements, verifying patterns across multiple instruments, each anomaly recorded with painstaking care. Yet the cumulative evidence hints at order and design, subtle and deliberate, a quiet insistence that intention may lie embedded within the motions of this interstellar visitor. You feel the tension between known physics and observed behavior, the silent but insistent suggestion that this object is not merely drifting, but communicating, signaling, or expressing purpose through its motion. Echoes from the past resonate in your mind. Babylonian stargazers recorded stars that shimmered with pulse. Polynesian navigators noted lights in the sky that seemed to breathe in rhythm, and medieval European astronomers described comets that moved with a cadence that defied randomness, leaving impressions that would endure in manuscripts and stone. These accounts, dismissed for centuries as myth, allegory, or imagination, now resonate with modern observation. 11 interval, photonic pulses, rotational modulation, structured energy retention, all echo the careful attention of those ancient observers. Tonight, the echoes feel tangible, bridging millennia and linking human perception with contemporary scrutiny. You feel continuity, a dialogue across centuries, evidence of enduring patterns in the cosmos, a quiet reassurance that awareness itself persists, that curiosity, observation, and wonder are threads connecting all who have gazed upward and wondered at what moves among the stars. The cosmic perspective widens as you visualize the object drifting through the void, its surface plates rotating harmoniously, equatorial vents channeling dust in precise arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catching sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a measured, deliberate flash. Its motion compensates subtly for the solar wind and gravitational tides, adjusting with the quiet elegance of a system aware of its environment. You sense the delicate balance of energy and mass, the rhythm that seems orchestrated, the intricate logic embedded in motion. The vastness of space frames the presence of this interstellar traveler, patient and precise, a silent testament to order within apparent chaos. Every rotation, every reflection, every subtle outgassing carries significance, a pulse that echoes faintly across the immense distances, speaking to observers attuned to its quiet messages. The human reflection emerges as you imagine the scientists observing these phenomena, hours spent in meticulous attention, calculation, and awe. Their restraint, careful archival of data, and hesitation to speak conclusions aloud mirrors your own patient contemplation. You, lying quietly in the dark, tether your awareness to theirs, becoming part of the continuum of observation. Each observation, each recognition of pattern, joins the network of vigilance that bridges human consciousness and interstellar presence. You feel a subtle communion, a quiet awareness that some mysteries require patience, repeated measurement, and collective attentiveness. In observing, you are not merely a witness, you are part of a larger awareness that stretches across minds, time, and the vast expanse of space, participating in the unfolding of something far older and stranger than the human imagination can fully grasp. The great silence descends like a gentle shroud, enveloping both your mind and the cosmos alike. 3I Atlas drifts behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its intent inscrutable. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, and energy retention linger in your consciousness, unresolved, yet compelling. You breathe slowly, allowing the quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions rest without the need for immediate answer. What will emerge? when the sun no longer conceals it. What message, if any, lies encoded in this deliberate, ancient motion? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative stretching across interstellar distance, a story written in light, motion, and subtle energies, perceptible only to those willing to watch attentively and with patience. As sleep draws near, you acknowledge the enormity of the universe and your attentive presence within it. 3i Atlas moves onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale with the rhythm of interstellar motion, understanding that some mysteries must first be experienced and felt before they can be fully understood. The great silence holds you, and you drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, yet intimately connected to the quiet of observation. You lie quietly, cradled in patience, accepting mystery as companion, part of the continuum of awareness that stretches from millennia past into the infinite future, observing, contemplating, and resting beneath the slow, deliberate cadence of an interstellar traveler. You feel the awakening as a subtle vibration beneath thought, a quiet, insistent pulse that draws your focus steadily toward 3i Atlas. Its rotations, the faint variations in brightness, the delicate, almost imperceptible pulses of light across its surface, all insist that you watch, that you notice, that you attend. Each anomaly, each sequence of light and energy carries weight, forming a rhythm that feels deliberate enough to suggest that observation itself is part of a dialogue. You allow your mind to follow it in the quiet, tracing each fluctuation, each gentle oscillation, feeling the immense distance it has traversed over eons, the deliberate choreography of its motion, and the faint signature of intention embedded in every rotation. The night stretches around you, calm yet alive with possibility, resonating with the quiet insistence of a presence older than memory, a traveler whose journey through space feels both infinite and intimate, unfolding patiently in the darkness that surrounds you. The evidence deepens as spectral analyses continue to reveal more peculiarities, subtle details that hint at deliberate construction or intent rather than mere chance. Nickel appears in the emissions without accompanying iron, an anomaly inconsistent with natural formation, suggesting a chemical peculiarity that challenges conventional understanding. Bands of heat on the surface store and release energy at precise intervals, synchronized almost perfectly with the object's rotational pattern, as if the entire structure is pulsing to an internal rhythm only it comprehends. Jets of outgassing erupt intermittently, yet the trajectory of 3i Atlas remains nearly perfect, as though the object's mass, density, and structural integrity exceed all expectations for an ordinary interstellar comet. Scientists catalogue each anomaly meticulously, double-checking measurements, cross-referencing instruments across observatories, cautious in their conclusions. Yet the combined evidence forms a pattern that hints at order, subtle and deliberate, a quiet insistence that coincidence alone cannot account for these phenomena. You feel the tension between physical law and behavior, a persistent suggestion that intentionality might be embedded within this traveler's motions, hidden in plain sight across the vast emptiness of space. Echoes from the past whisper through your awareness, voices and perceptions from civilizations long vanished. Babylonian astronomers once noted stars that shimmered with a rhythmic pulse, Polynesian navigators charted lights that seemed to breathe as they guided long journeys across oceans. Medieval European records describe comets moving with cadence that defied randomness, drawing attention, inspiring awe. These accounts, long dismissed as myth, allegory, or fanciful projection, resonate profoundly with the modern observations of 3-eye atlas, 11-interval photonic pulses, precise rotational modulation, structured energy retention, all echo those ancient perceptions. Tonight, the echoes feel tangible, bridging millennia. You sense a continuity that stretches across time, a silent dialogue connecting your awareness with that of distant ancestors who once lifted their eyes to the same sky, who once wondered at patterns that now seem to recur, echoing in both time and space, a quiet testament to human observation and curiosity. The cosmic perspective expands, enveloping your imagination as you envision 3-eye atlas drifting through the void. Its surface plates rotate in harmonic cadence, equatorial vents channel dust along precise arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a fleeting geometric flash. Its motion compensates for solar wind, gravitational tides, and other subtle cosmic forces, moving with a quiet elegance that seems to transcend randomness. You feel the order underlying apparent chaos, the rhythm that could be deliberate, a sophisticated orchestration of motion, or an improbability so extreme that it imitates design. The vast universe frames the presence of this traveler, patient, precise, and unyielding in its silent narrative. Each flicker, each pulse of light, each calculated emission feels like a signature, an intricate note in a cosmic composition that only the attentive can perceive, an interstellar story written in energy, motion, and subtlety. The human reflection emerges as you imagine the scientists observing these patterns, their hours spent in meticulous attention, calculation, and awe. Their restraint, the careful archival of data, the caution in speaking conclusions aloud, mirrors your own quiet attention. You lie in the dark, tethered to their observation, becoming part of a continuum that spans human minds and interstellar presence alike. Each observation, each recognition of pattern, each patient act of attention contributes to a network of vigilance, a shared awareness that stretches across individuals and generations. You feel a subtle communion, a sense of connection, of participating in something larger, observing and acknowledging the deliberate unfolding of a presence older and stranger than any single mind could fully comprehend. The act of watching becomes an intimate participation, a gentle alignment with the rhythms of a universe that moves according to laws, patterns, or perhaps intentions far beyond human comprehension. The great silence descends, folding your mind and the cosmos together in a gentle, encompassing embrace. 3-eye atlas drifts behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its intent inscrutable, its measured rhythms persisting. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, and energy retention linger in your consciousness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting contemplation without forcing answers. You breathe slowly, allowing quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions rest without urgency. What will emerge when solar concealment ends? What message, if any, lies encoded in this ancient, deliberate motion. Suspended in thought, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative written across interstellar distance, a story expressed not in words but in motion, light, and subtle energy, perceptible only to those who watch attentively and with patience. As sleep approaches, you acknowledge the vastness of the universe and your attentive place within it. 3i Atlas moves onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale in rhythm with its interstellar motion, understanding that some mysteries must first be felt before they can be fully comprehended, experienced before they can be explained. The great silence holds you in its gentle, enveloping embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, intimately present, quietly persistent, and profoundly significant in the stillness of observation. Tonight, you are both witness and participant, cradled by the patient rhythm of the cosmos, surrendering to quiet, allowing questions to exist without urgency, and resting beneath the slow, deliberate motion of an ancient interstellar traveler. Its subtle rotations and delicate modulation of light across its surface insist upon notice, as if the object itself is coaxing you to pay attention, to trace the pulse of an interstellar traveler, threading silently through the calm of night. Each anomaly, each flicker of heat, each sequence of reflected photons carries gravity beyond immediate comprehension. You lean into the observation, allowing the magnitude of its journey to settle around your consciousness. The immense distances it has crossed, the centuries of space it has traversed, the near impossible precision of its motions. There is a faint signature of intention, a whisper of design embedded in every rotation, subtle enough that it is felt more than seen. The night stretches taut around you, calm yet alive, a hushed theatre where possibility lingers, palpable and persistent. Every moment is a brushstroke on a canvas of interstellar scale, each photon an artist's line, each rotation a carefully considered gesture in the choreography of space. The evidence deepens as spectral data continues to unveil extraordinary peculiarities, patterns that defy expectation yet insist upon acknowledgement. Nickel concentrations rise without accompanying iron, an anomaly so incompatible with natural formation that it forces a re-evaluation of assumption. Bands of heat store and release energy at precise intervals, meticulously aligned with the object's rotational cycle, as if choreographed to a rhythm only the cosmos understands. Jets of outgassing erupt in measured bursts, yet the trajectory of 3i Atlas remains almost perfectly stable, as though structural integrity and immense mass resist the gentle nudges of physics itself. Scientists catalogue each anomaly with careful deliberation, noting the consistency and improbability of the observed behaviors. Yet the aggregate pattern hints at something more, a deliberate order, a hidden hand at work. You sense the tension between established physics and the object's inexplicable behavior, a quiet insistence that purpose is embedded in the motions you are witnessing, a subtle call to recognize design rather than randomness. The solar system itself becomes a laboratory. Every photon, every thermal fluctuation, every microparticle of outgassing a variable in a test conducted across light years and centuries. Echoes from the past surface as you allow memory to mingle with observation. Humanity has encountered such moments before, blinking upward at the night sky, trying to decipher the cryptic language of distant lights. Sumerian stargazers noted stars that shimmered rhythmically. Polynesian navigators charted points of light that pulsed with seeming purpose. Medieval European astronomers described comets that appeared to breathe, to expand and contract as if alive. These stories, once dismissed as myth, allegory, or human overinterpretation, resonate differently tonight, interwoven with modern observations. 11-interval photonic pulses, rotational modulation, energy retention across irregular surfaces. Tonight, the echoes become tactile, almost immediate, a bridge across millennia, connecting ancient observers with modern scientists' measured attention and precise instrumentation. Perhaps those who recorded these observations were early witnesses to the patterns you now perceive, their curiosity and vigilance mirrored in your own consciousness. The resonance of past attention and present observation forms a continuum, a thread of awareness stretching across time, a reminder that human perception has always been entwined with cosmic phenomena. The cosmic perspective widens, offering a panoramic view of 3I Atlas drifting through interplanetary space. You see surface plates shifting in harmonic rotation, equatorial vents channeling streams of dust in precise arcs, a triangular facet briefly catching sunlight and reflecting it toward Earth in a geometric flash. Its motion is coherent, compensating for solar wind and gravitational forces with subtle elegance. You feel the underlying order within apparent chaos, the rhythm that may be deliberate, the quiet sophistication of an object navigating space with improbable precision. Surrounding it, the vast emptiness frames the presence of this traveler, patient and measured, deliberate and immovable in silence. The vastness magnifies the significance of every pulse, every modulation, every carefully orchestrated outflow of particles. The cosmos may appear indifferent, yet this object seems to pay attention, to respond, and perhaps to communicate through its deliberate, persistent pattern. You perceive it not as random matter adrift, but as a participant in a dialogue spanning light years, responding to forces both natural and invisible, and yet harmoniously, intentionally, aligned with unseen orders. The human reflection emerges as you consider the scientists who observe, analyze, and contemplate these phenomena. Hours, perhaps days, spent in meticulous observation, in calculation, in patient attention to the tiniest irregularities. Their restraint, tempered by awe, mirrors your own quiet vigilance, a shared rhythm of awareness across time and space. You lie quietly, becoming part of that continuum, your consciousness entwined with theirs, witnessing and absorbing the subtle signatures of intelligence or design. Each observation, each recognition, each careful measurement joins a network of awareness that spans human and interstellar presence, a continuum of curiosity and attention that connects the distant past, the present, and the unknowable future. You feel subtle communion with something older, stranger, more immense than comprehension alone can grasp, a quiet validation of curiosity sustained over centuries and across civilizations. Each rotation of Atlas, each subtle photon reflected, is recorded not just in instruments, but in the collective human memory, an invisible ledger of attention and anticipation. The great silence descends like a soft curtain, enfolding both mind and cosmos in its embrace. 3I Atlas continues its path behind the sun, moving inexorably toward perihelion, internal sequences intact, intentions inscrutable, and rhythms undisturbed. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, and energy retention linger in consciousness, unresolved yet compelling, whispering questions you are not yet ready to answer. You breathe slowly, allowing quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting unanswered questions hover without the need for resolution. What will emerge when solar concealment ends? What message, if any, is encoded in these deliberate motions? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative that spans interstellar space, a story that will reveal itself gradually, its details measured and precise, unfolding beyond the limits of human perception. As sleep approaches, you become acutely aware of the vastness of the universe and your attentive presence within it. 3i Atlas continues onward, patterns and anomalies weaving themselves into your awareness, echoes from the past, resonating with present observation. You exhale in rhythm with the subtle motions of the cosmos, understanding that some mysteries must first be experienced, felt, and absorbed before they can be fully known or interpreted. The great silence holds you in its gentle, encompassing embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate, measured unfolding of a presence older than memory, yet intimately present, quietly insistent, and profoundly significant in the stillness of observation. The awakening is no longer subtle, it is insistent. Its presence stretches across interstellar distances and folds time into an awareness that connects your own observation to the history of human attention, the ancient witnesses, and the instruments that watch quietly in the void. You are both participant and observer, linked to the silent rhythm of 3i Atlas. Every photon, every pulse, every rotational shift carries information, intention, and the echoes of time itself. And in that stillness, you feel a profound sense of communion with the cosmos, with intelligence that may surpass comprehension, and with a story that is far from complete, waiting to unfold in its own deliberate rhythm. You feel the awakening as a faint, insistent tremor in your thoughts, a subtle pull toward the path of 3i Atlas. Tonight, its presence feels more deliberate than ever, as though the object itself is aware of your attention, guiding your perception toward every rotation, every modulation of light, every faint pulse of energy across its surface. These nuances insist upon careful observation, demanding that you trace their rhythm, feel their cadence, understand their pattern. You allow yourself to follow the gentle undulations, to move along the invisible currents it leaves in its wake, to sense the deliberate rhythm of an object older than any memory you can hold, older than the foundations of human observation itself. It moves with patience and precision that challenge comprehension, yet in the quiet of night, there is a clarity that emerges, a message embedded in its trajectory, a signature imprinted in its composition, a deliberate interaction with the solar environment that whispers of intent beyond your immediate understanding. The evidence deepens as you absorb the latest observations. Heat retention across the surface remains symmetrical and exact, reflecting intervals precisely aligned with the object's rotational modulation, like a heartbeat measured across the vast emptiness of space. Nickel continues to appear without iron, an unusual chemical signature incompatible with natural formation. a silent signal that something in the composition is unlike any natural body we have studied. Jets of outgassing rise from fissures and vents in controlled bursts, yet the trajectory remains almost perfectly stable, reinforcing the notion that the nucleus is massive, dense, and structurally resilient, resistant to perturbation from its own activity. Scientists catalogue each anomaly with meticulous care, recording data, repeating measurements, comparing them across observatories and instruments. Yet the aggregate pattern hints at something greater, an underlying logic, a subtle insistence that coincidence alone cannot account for the behavior of this interstellar visitor. You feel the tension, the quiet interplay between known physics and the object's improbable motions, a persistent insistence that something beyond random mechanics is at work. Echoes from the past whisper through your awareness, folding centuries into a single thread of consciousness. Ancient observers from Sumerian scribes, who recorded rhythmic, celestial phenomena, to Polynesian navigators, mapping stars that pulsed in predictable cadence, once noticed movements that defied explanation. Medieval European astronomers described comets that seemed to breathe or shimmer with intention. These accounts, long dismissed as myth, allegory, or human projection, resonate now with the 11-interval photonic pulses, the synchronized rotation, and the structured energy retention displayed by 3I Atlas. Tonight, the echoes become tangible, a bridge across time connecting the curiosity and careful scrutiny of millennia with the precise measurements of contemporary scientists. Perhaps those who recorded these phenomena were early witnesses, their wonder preserved across centuries, now echoing in the patterns you perceive and the awareness you cultivate tonight. The cosmic perspective widens as you imagine 3I Atlas drifting through space, its surface plates rotating in harmonic rhythm, equatorial vents channeling streams of dust along exact, repeating arcs. A triangular facet catches sunlight and reflects briefly toward Earth, like a wink across the void. Its motion is coherent, compensating elegantly for solar wind and gravitational tides, maintaining a rhythm that suggests either deliberate design or an improbability so extreme that it mimics design. You sense a logic in its path, an order imposed upon the chaos of the cosmos. The universe stretches vast and patient around this traveler, framing the precise choreography of a presence moving in deliberate intelligence through interstellar space. You feel the weight of that order, the resonance of a pattern, not merely coincidental, and the quiet awe of witnessing a process that is both comprehensible and beyond immediate understanding. The human reflection emerges as you consider the scientists observing this journey, hours spent in meticulous calculation, patient attention, and awe-filled contemplation. Their hesitation to speak conclusions aloud, their careful archival of data until insight and understanding converge, mirrors your own patient awareness. You lie quietly, tethered to their vigilance, forming an invisible connection between observer and observed. Each observation, each recognition of pattern, becomes part of a collective attentiveness, a network of minds, human and interstellar, observing, recording, and interpreting a presence older and stranger than any single individual could comprehend alone. You sense communion across space and time, the convergence of curiosity, caution, and recognition, each a thread in the intricate web of understanding. The great silence descends, folding your awareness and the vast cosmos into one quiet, expansive presence, 3i Atlas continues behind the Sun, moving toward perihelion, carrying sequences intact, purpose inscrutable, its internal rhythms persisting without falter. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, and measured energy retention linger in your consciousness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting reflection without demanding answers. You breathe slowly, allowing the quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions hover without resolution. What will be revealed once solar concealment ends? What message, if any, lies encoded in this ancient and deliberate motion? You remain suspended, witness to a narrative unfolding patiently across interstellar space, a story that is written not in words but in motion, in light, in subtle patterns that speak to those who watch carefully. As sleep approaches, you feel the vastness of the universe and your place within it, attentive and aware. 3i Atlas continues onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your consciousness. You exhale in rhythm with the interstellar motion, knowing that some mysteries must first be felt before they can be fully comprehended, experienced before understood. The great silence holds you, enveloping mind and cosmos alike. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, intimately present and profoundly significant in the quiet of observation, a patient reminder that the universe speaks slowly, and only those who watch carefully can hear. You feel the awakening like a gentle pulse beneath your consciousness, a soft tremor that moves through thought, a subtle tug guiding your attention, with a quiet insistence to the presence of 3i Atlas. Its rotations, the faint modulation of reflected light, the almost imperceptible variations in surface heat, they all insist upon your observation, each one carrying a weight beyond immediate perception. You let your mind follow these signals, tracing each pulse, each subtle fluctuation, feeling the slow, deliberate choreography of motion across the void. You imagine the immense distances it has traversed, the billions of kilometers traveled through emptiness, the patience inherent in every rotation, every oscillation of energy, and the faint imprint of intention embedded in the object's very existence. The night stretches around you, serene yet alive with possibility, resonating with the quiet insistence of an entity older than memory, moving with a grace that the human mind can barely apprehend. The evidence deepens as spectral and observational data continue to reveal unusual chemical and physical properties. Nickel appears disproportionately abundant without accompanying iron, defying the chemical expectations of natural cosmic formation and challenging established models of cometary evolution. Heat retention bands absorb and release energy in precise intervals, their timing perfectly synchronized with rotational modulation, forming a subtle rhythm that cannot easily be dismissed as random. Jets of outgassing erupt intermittently, yet the trajectory of the object remains remarkably stable, suggesting immense density and structural integrity far beyond ordinary interstellar comets. Scientists record each anomaly with painstaking care, cross-referencing every measurement, yet the totality of evidence hints at deliberate order, subtle but persistent. You feel the tension between established natural laws and the behavior of the object, the quiet insistence that intentionality, design, or purpose may indeed be encoded within its motions, whispering a narrative too precise to be accidental. Echoes from the past resurface in your awareness. Ancient observers, from the Sumerian scribes of Mesopotamia to Polynesian navigators charting the stars, to medieval European astronomers documenting comets, all recorded phenomena that shimmered or pulsed with apparent purpose, lights in the sky that seemed to breathe, to move with rhythmic cadence, were once dismissed as myth, allegory, or simple human projection. Tonight, however, those accounts resonate differently, aligning with the 11-interval photonic pulses, the rotational modulation, and the structured energy retention that modern instruments reveal. The echoes are vivid, bridging time and space, connecting ancient human perception with contemporary scientific observation. You feel a continuity of awareness across millennia, as if curiosity, attention, and wonder have been transmitted through human consciousness, now reflected back in the deliberate behavior of an interstellar traveler. The cosmic perspective widens as you visualize 3I Atlas drifting through interplanetary space. Surface plates rotate in harmonic cadence, equatorial vents channel dust along precise arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a single, fleeting geometric flare. Its motion is coherent, compensating for the influence of solar wind and gravitational tides, with subtle, elegant precision. You feel the rhythm beneath the chaos, the underlying order suggesting either deliberate design or an improbability so extreme that it mirrors intent. The universe stretches vast and patient around this traveler, framing its presence, a silent testament to careful motion, to quiet sophistication, to a logic that extends beyond human understanding. The surrounding emptiness amplifies the significance of each pulse, each flicker, each subtle signal, as if the cosmos itself conspired to preserve the observation of this deliberate, ancient motion. The human reflection emerges as you consider the researchers observing these phenomena. Hours, perhaps days, spent in meticulous observation, calculation, and contemplation. Their restraint, their careful archiving of data until insight aligns with understanding, mirrors your own patient attention. You lie quietly, your awareness tethered to theirs, forming a subtle connection between observer and observed. Each recognition of pattern, each subtle measurement, becomes part of a network of collective vigilance, a lattice of consciousness spanning the human mind and the interstellar presence of 3I Atlas. You feel communion, a quiet resonance that some mysteries require patience, sustained observation, and alignment across time, space, and mind. The act of watching becomes itself an act of participation, a bridge linking the observer to the deliberate, measured motion unfolding across vast distances. The great silence descends, enveloping both your mind and the cosmos. 3I Atlas continues its path behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its purpose inscrutable. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, energy retention linger in your consciousness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting reflection rather than forcing comprehension. You breathe slowly, allowing quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions hover without demand for answers. What will emerge once the sun no longer conceals it? What message, if any, lies encoded in this ancient, deliberate motion? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative, not in words, but in movement, light, and energy, stretching across interstellar space with meticulous care. As sleep approaches, you become aware of the vastness of the universe and your attentive presence within it. 3i Atlas continues onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale in rhythm with the motion of this ancient traveler, understanding that some mysteries must first be experienced, felt, and absorbed before they can be fully known. The great silence holds you in its gentle embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, intimately present, profoundly significant, and patiently waiting in the quiet, where observation and understanding converge in suspended reverence. Its rotations, the subtle modulation of reflected light, and the soft heat variations across its surface all insist upon observation, quietly demanding your attention. You let your mind follow the signals, tracing each pulse, each delicate fluctuation, feeling the gradual cadence as it threads through the night. You imagine the immense distances it has traveled, through vast emptiness and silent cosmic corridors, the slow and deliberate choreography of its motion, and the imprint of intent woven into every rotation, subtle yet undeniable. The night stretches around you, calm but alive with possibility, resonating with the quiet insistence of an object older than memory, moving with patience that challenges comprehension, yet conveying a presence that insists on being witnessed. The evidence deepens as spectral data reveals further anomalies, patterns that defy expectation and invite contemplation. Nickel appears without iron, a chemical signature impossible under natural formation, a whisper of deliberate modification or unnatural origin. Bands of heat across its surface absorb and release energy at intervals precisely aligned with rotational patterns, forming a rhythm that echoes across the instruments of observatories. Jets of outgassing erupt intermittently, yet the trajectory remains almost perfectly stable, resisting perturbation and suggesting a nucleus of immense mass, dense and resilient. Structurally, unlike any ordinary interstellar comet, scientists catalogue each anomaly with meticulous attention, repeating measurements, verifying results, and comparing observations across hemispheres. Yet the cumulative evidence hints at deliberate order, subtle and persistent, a quiet insistence that intentionality may lie embedded within these motions. You feel the tension between physical law and observed behavior, a silent insistence that randomness alone cannot explain this visitor's precise choreography. Echoes from the past whisper through your awareness, drawing your mind across millennia. Sumerian scribes once recorded stars that shimmered rhythmically. Polynesian navigators charted lights that pulsed with apparent purpose. Medieval European astronomers described comets that seemed to breathe or expand in ways that defied expectation. These historical accounts, long dismissed as myth, allegory, or human projection, resonate now with the 11-interval photonic pulses, rotational modulation, and structured energy retention of 3i Atlas. Tonight, the echoes feel tangible, forming a bridge across time and space, linking human perception of the past with careful scientific observation in the present. The continuity of awareness, curiosity, and attention emerges clearly, a persistent pattern connecting ancient observers to contemporary measurement, revealing that humanity's fascination with the sky has always been intertwined with deeper patterns that endure far beyond a single lifetime. The cosmic perspective widens, inviting you to imagine the object drifting through the vast silence of space. Surface plates rotate in harmonious cadence. Equatorial vents channel streams of dust with precise arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a fleeting, geometric flare. Its motion compensates subtly for the solar wind and gravitational tides, maintaining a rhythm that suggests order and intent. You feel the pattern in your mind, the underlying logic that may be deliberate, or an improbability so extreme that it mirrors design. The vast, patient emptiness frames the presence of this traveler, a quiet testament to careful, precise motion across interstellar space. Every rotation, every modulation, every particle ejected in controlled arcs contributes to the perception of intelligence, the sense that the object moves with knowledge of its surroundings, interacting with the universe as if aware of observation and consequence. The human reflection emerges as you imagine the scientists observing these phenomena, their eyes fixed on screens, instruments, and spectrographs. Hours are spent in patient scrutiny, in meticulous calculation, in awe-filled attention to the smallest anomalies. Their restraint, archival of data, and hesitation to speak conclusions mirror your own careful attention. You lie quietly in the dark, tethering your consciousness to theirs, joining a continuum of vigilance and curiosity. Each observation, each recognition of a pattern, contributes to a collective network of awareness, spanning human consciousness and interstellar presence alike. You sense subtle communion with these minds, a quiet understanding that some mysteries demand patience, alignment, and prolonged attention, a coordination of observation across space, time, and intellect. In this shared attentiveness, you feel connected to something vast and ancient, a network of awareness, watching and acknowledging the deliberate unfolding of motion. The great silence descends like a soft, encompassing curtain, folding your consciousness together with the cosmos. 3. Atlas drifts behind the Sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its intent inscrutable. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, energy retention, all linger in your awareness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting reflection without demanding immediate answers. You breathe slowly, allowing quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions rest without urgency. What will be revealed once the sun no longer conceals it? What message, if any, lies encoded in this ancient, deliberate motion? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative across interstellar distance, an interstellar story written not in words, but in light, energy, and motion, perceptible only to those who watch carefully and patiently. As sleep approaches, you acknowledge the enormity of the universe and your attentive place within it. 3. Atlas continues onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale with the rhythm of interstellar motion, knowing that some mysteries must be experienced and felt before they can be fully comprehended. The great silence holds you in its gentle embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, yet intimately present in the quiet of observation, a patient reminder that the universe communicates slowly and only those who attend with care can perceive its subtle truths. Tonight, its rotations, the nuanced modulation of reflected light, and the soft, almost imperceptible heat variations across its surface carry an insistence you cannot ignore. You follow the subtle rhythms, tracing the intricate, interwoven patterns, feeling the immense distances it has traversed, the slow, deliberate choreography of its motion, and the faint signature of intention woven into every rotation. The night stretches calmly around you, vast and quiet, yet alive with possibility, resonating with the patient insistence of a presence older than memory, a silent traveler whose journey through space has been deliberate, measured, and purposeful in ways that hint at comprehension beyond your own. The evidence deepens as spectral and observational data continue to reveal the extraordinary. Nickel remains disproportionately abundant, appearing without iron, a signature inconsistent with natural formation, a subtle clue that speaks of precision rather than coincidence. Heat retention bands absorb and release energy at precise, measured intervals, synchronized almost perfectly with the object's rotational patterns, like a heartbeat echoing across the void. Jets of outgassing erupt intermittently, yet the trajectory remains almost perfectly unchanged, suggesting mass and structural integrity far beyond that of ordinary interstellar comets. Scientists meticulously record each anomaly, cataloging every detail, repeating measurements, comparing instruments, and cross-checking results across hemispheres. Yet, the aggregate evidence forms a pattern that hints at deliberate order, subtle but persistent, a quiet insistence that coincidence alone cannot account for the behavior of this interstellar visitor. You feel the tension between the laws of physics and the observed phenomena, the silent but undeniable suggestion that intentionality may lie embedded in the very motions you witness. Echoes from the past return vividly, carrying the awareness of generations who gazed upward in wonder. Babylonian stargazers recorded stars that shimmered with rhythmic cadence. Polynesian navigators charted lights in the night sky, noting subtle pulsations that guided travel across vast oceans. Medieval European astronomers described comets that seemed to breathe, expand, and contract in ways that defied expectation. These historical accounts, long dismissed as myth or allegory, resonate profoundly with the 11-interval photonic pulses, the precise rotational modulation, and the structured energy retention of 3I Atlas. Tonight, the echoes feel almost tangible, bridging millennia, linking human perception and careful observation from long ago to modern scientific scrutiny. They reveal a persistent, centuries-long pattern of attention and wonder, a continuity of curiosity that stretches from ancient eyes to yours, a reminder that observation itself is a thread connecting the present with the vast historical record. The cosmic perspective opens wide as you envision 3I Atlas drifting through the void of interplanetary space. Surface plates rotate in harmonic cadence. Equatorial vents channel streams of dust along exact arcs, and a triangular facet briefly catches sunlight, reflecting it toward Earth in a single, fleeting geometric flash. Its motion compensates subtly for the solar wind, for gravitational tides and perturbations, maintaining a rhythm that suggests order. You feel the pattern, the underlying logic that might be deliberate, or an improbability so extreme it mimics design. The vast emptiness of space frames the traveler's presence, patient and precise, a silent testament to deliberate motion across interstellar distances. Each rotation, each modulation, every burst of outgassing or reflection seems carefully orchestrated, a choreography unfolding over billions of kilometers, quietly asserting its own logic, independent of terrestrial comprehension. The human reflection emerges as you consider the scientists observing these phenomena, their hours spent in meticulous scrutiny, in calculation, in quiet, awe-filled attention. Their restraint, their careful archival of data, their hesitation to speak conclusions aloud, mirrors your own patient observation. You lie quietly, tethering your awareness to theirs, becoming part of a continuum of vigilance. Each recognition of pattern, each subtle insight, becomes part of a network of collective awareness, bridging human consciousness and the interstellar presence of 3I Atlas. A communion exists in shared attention, a quiet understanding that some mysteries require patience, observation, and alignment across minds, extending across time, space, and perception, and that true comprehension comes only when one is willing to remain present with the process itself. The great silence descends, enveloping both your consciousness and the cosmos in one gentle, encompassing presence. 3I Atlas continues its slow drift behind the sun, moving toward perihelion, its internal sequences intact, its purpose inscrutable, its internal rhythms persistent and measured. Rotational modulation, photon pulses, and energy retention linger in your awareness, unresolved yet compelling, inviting reflection rather than demanding immediate answers. You breathe slowly, allowing the quiet to cradle your thoughts, letting questions hover without urgency. What will be revealed when the sun no longer conceals it? What message, if any, is encoded in this ancient, deliberate motion? Suspended in contemplation, you sense the patient unfolding of a narrative across interstellar distances, a story written not in words but in light, motion, and subtle energy, perceivable only to those who observe with care and attentiveness. As sleep approaches, you acknowledge the vastness of the universe and your attentive presence within it. 3I Atlas drifts onward, its patterns, anomalies, and echoes from the past accompanying your awareness. You exhale in quiet rhythm with its interstellar motion, understanding that some mysteries must be felt before they can be fully comprehended, experienced before they can be explained. The great silence holds you in its gentle embrace. You drift with it, witnessing the deliberate unfolding of a presence older than memory, intimately present, quietly persistent, and profoundly significant in the stillness of observation. Tonight, you are witness and participant, cradled in the patience of the cosmos, accepting mystery as companion, surrendering to the quiet and the rhythm of interstellar motion as it continues, uninterrupted and eternal.